All right, Karlina Tongotea, it's a pleasure to have you here. Bit of intro, under 72 powerlifter, occasional under 64 kilo powerlifter, post-COVID 84 kilo thick powerlifter, national champion, Oceania champion, multiple Oceania and world record holder. Does that about sum you up?
Yeah, that's a nice intro.
All right, thanks for being here. We're just going to take a bit of time to share a bit about your journey so far and where you're looking towards to the future. So, like we spoke a bit off camera, your background culturally, where you're born and raised and things like that.
Yeah, so I'm half Tongan, half Māori. Mum's Māori, my dad's Tongan. Born and raised in South Auckland my whole life. Born in Middlemore, went to med school, worked at Middlemore, so I'm like such a South Auckland baby.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much us. I'm one of five, so nice big Tongan family.
So talk about, where'd you go to high school?
I went to Macaulay in Otahu. Yeah, so that was awesome for me.
Sports background?
Netball?
Yep.
All netball, always netball. Was in like club, reps, 3 different teams, so was not doing any lifting or anything for ages,
And then you spoke about getting into med school, so what made you decide that that's the path that you wanted to go down?
Yeah, I think when I was, my granddad was a doctor in Tonga, and so my parents really drilled that into me when I was a kid, but I ended up kind of wanting to do that myself anyway. So in high school, I decided.
And the pathway to that, so you go into med school, what's kind of the process for people that might not have much of a background on how it all works?
So you do a first year and you compete with everybody else to try and get into med school, and then sit your exams, do an interview, and get in. And then you spend another 5 years at uni, another couple of years as a junior doctor, and then you decide what you want to be.
So you've finished your junior doctorate now, and you're, if I'm right in saying this, training towards GP?
Yeah, that's right. So I did 3 years. Well, it took a year out actually just to lift, because I took a year off work and just did that part-time to pay for rent and pay for competition fees. And that was the year before last. So I really enjoyed that. That was really cool. I could see myself just doing that and a little bit of work. So it was a bit different coming back into full-time work, but now training to be a GP, passed my exams.
Wow.
And so in a couple of years I'll be like fully fledged.
Stay in Southside?
Yep, Southside.
That's the plan. So if you weren't a doctor, what do you think you'd be doing?
I think I would be doing something in sport. Like I definitely would have found some sport to do. I've always wanted to represent New Zealand in something.
So we'll segue a bit into your lifting, powerlifting. How did you get into it? Hitting the gym up and things before that? So when I started working, I wasn't able to like commit to netball anymore. I was like letting people down. So I just started going to the gym. And I think like most girls who get into strength sport way back then, the only girl I saw lifting was Barbara. And so when I saw that, that's what introduced me to like the lifting world. And then just found a PT, Callum at New York Fitness out south, and asked him to show me how to do that stuff. And kind of found out that I was, a little kind of good for a commercial gym. And then found my way to NZPA. So talk about NZPA. You're training in a commercial gym, and how did you end up over there?
I think, kind of funny story. Barbara was my PT.
Wow.
So so I didn't that's how I found out about lifting for a little while. And then I followed her on Instagram, and I think I got a message just to come to one of their open days or like do a max out session. And I jumped on that because I was like, okay, this is my way to get into like powerlifting. And then, that was it. I was, been there since.
So from a kind of a coaching perspective myself, it's often hard to get people to think about competing, but you sort of jumped in with both feet to begin with. What do you kind of attribute that to?
I think I'm a naturally competitive person. So like winning and competing, and I'd been missing that for a couple of years being at the hospital. So, and plus Dom was just like, oh yeah, you're doing Auckland Champs in a few weeks. So
cool. First comp, Auckland Powerlifting Champs 2018.
Yeah.
How did it go?
Yeah. So I just thought, okay, whatever. I don't, Dom's like that. He throws things at you and I sort of just catch it. And
you remember much about that first comp?
I was super nervous. I was really, really nervous leading up to the first squat.
Yep.
But as soon as you do that first lift, I just felt addicted. I was like, yep, this is it.
And you're still pulling sumo at that point?
Yeah, that was bad time. Bad time.
And I've just got the numbers here, you know, for reference. 147.5 squat, 80 bench, 175 dead, under 72 second place. So you would have been pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I was really, I didn't understand what numbers meant back then. So I was just like, oh, cool, like, nice.
Pretty strong start. So if you were second, who was in first place?
Barbara. Yeah.
All right. And you'd attended a deadlift workshop previously with her, and now you're competing against each other.
Yes, I forgot about that. And my really good friend Jewel was there as well, so she's an awesome lifter as well. But we didn't know each other back then, so we met a year later.
Wow, small world.
I know.
All right, so if we fast forward a bit, after Auckland Champs, next comp up was North Islands in June.
Yeah.
Talk to me about North Island.
That was, what was that? That was I can't even remember what I did. Did I come first?
I've got it right here. You did come first. I'll tell you exactly for people that are following along. 150 squat, 85 bench, 185 dead for 420 total. Still pulling sumo and came away with best overall female lifter and gold in the under 72s.
Yes, that's right. And the first time I got drug tested and my second competition, which was
how did you find that? Cool. For people that don't know much about the drug testing, how does that all work?
It was pretty awkward. So they pull you aside, they watch you the whole time, and they offer you drinks to drink because, you know, if you drink something else, it might be tainted.
Exactly.
So, I wanted to wait for my prize giving, so they waited with me. And then someone literally watches you pee, so they got to watch that pee leave your body and make sure it's yours.
Wow.
So it was pretty awkward, but...
Did you feel flattered that you've been drug tested? 2 comps in
yeah,
and you're already...
Yeah, I did. Especially when other people told me what that meant, because I was still so new. Yeah.
So between that and nationals, I guess you would have seen a lot of the girls from the squad go off to IPF Worlds.
Yeah.
Is that something that you would have seen and thought, man, that's something I want to do next?
Definitely. It quickly became a goal that I would want to get to that level. But then we left.
Well, we'll touch on that a bit later on in the interview. But up next was nationals. This is still 2018 we're talking about.
Yes.
So you come in, you weigh in a kilo lighter. You had a 157.5 squat, 90 bench, 200.5 deadlift for 448 total, and that's a 28 kilo increase from North Islands. This time you're lifting conventional.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the deadlift, why in particular that weight, 200 and a half. And you're injured prior to this comp. You couldn't deadlift and you kind of had like a 3-week prep. Talk a bit about that.
Yeah, so I can't even remember what it was, but I was just deadlifting one day about 5 weeks out and pulled something on the side and I couldn't even deadlift a bar without pain. So we scrapped that, brought it back in 2.5 weeks out, and I think that's where we learned that taking my deadlifts out early on in the prep kind of helps with what numbers I pull on the day. But I was not expecting, the plan was always 200, but as soon as I got that little niggle, I just thought, oh God, I'll be happy for 190. But 185 moved okay, and he said, do you want it? And I said, do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So that's obviously the benefit, you know, the longer you can be working with your coach and you can kind of build that relationship, athlete-coach relationship, and you can understand how you work a little bit better. So we'll kind of segue a little bit. So talk to us about, you know, what you do with regards to programming. I've heard things about the dreaded red days on your programs, and I see there's a lot of variations, without getting too technical for people that don't have much of an understanding, but kind of West Side-esque block pulls and chains and bands and reverse bands and things like that.
Yeah,
Talk to me a little bit about how your training kind of runs.
Yeah, so it changes all the time. He comes up with different types of programs, and sometimes we need him to tell us how to read it because it's changed. But basically, yeah, sort of green, yellow, red. So green being a light day, and then red being probably max out. And I think I'm a little bit different to most people at our gym, where I have that a lot of max outs and low reps, and lots of variations, so chains, bands.
And you find your body responds quite well to that?
Yeah, it seems to.
Working well so far, eh?
Yeah, working well so far.
All right, so if we get back onto the track, talking about the comps, November of that year, you get a letter of invitation to World Powerlifting Oceanias in Brisbane in December. So it's your first international competition. You're in a new weight class. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I was thinking a little bit about that me deciding to go down to 63s, and when we moved to WP it was 64, so it sort of seemed like, oh, okay, that's a little bit easier.
Yep.
I was probably running away from the number 172 at the time, so I thought I could do a bit more at 64.
Yep.
Cut down there, did okay for my first comp at a 64.
Well, we'll talk about that. You cut from 71 to 63, 155 squat, 92.5 bench, and missed your first crack at a 205 deadlift.
Yeah.
Gold medal, total record in the new Fed, 466 Wilks. Can you remember much about the comp?
It was really, really hot. There was no aircon, there was no fans, so we were all very sticky. But it was so fun, like traveling. I think that was where Stan was as well, so it was an awesome group of people to travel with and experience your first international comp with.
Yep, and then following on from that comp was the 2019 Sydney Fitness Show in April. This time your cut was a little bit more challenging. Second comp at under 64, come away with a 158 squat. You missed 205 on the deadlift again, but talk to us about what happened with the bench.
Oh man, I just bombed. And I didn't even know what bombing was back then. I thought I could
So explain what bombing means for people that might not understand.
So you miss all 3 lifts, and that disqualifies you from getting a total.
You remember the weight?
85, something I'd done heaps of times before, but it just wasn't moving.
What can you attribute it to, do you think?
I didn't think the cut was that hard. You know, I wasn't dehydrating. It was purely liquid diet and dieting down.
Yep.
Warm-ups were fine. It just, I don't know, just some shit happens or doesn't.
It sure does. So it's roughly around this time when you made the decision to make doctoring part-time and put even more of a focus on your training?
Yeah.
So next comp up from that was the first ever World Powerlifting New Zealand Nats. You're back up into the under 72 category, but you're leaving a few kilos on the platform, so you weighed in about 67, 68 kilos.
Yeah.
Come away with a 167 squat, had a crack at 100 bench and a 215 deadlift. 475 total. It's up 27 kilos from the last comp as a 72 lifter. 483 Wilks. You're the Open Women's Champ and come away with a bunch of WP records. Talk to me about that comp.
Yeah, I was still trying to get back to 64 and it was really, really hard. And so I just decided that comp wasn't sort of worth killing myself trying to make weight for. But when I pulled those numbers, I think that was the first time I knew I could do a lot at 72 and trusted myself to do it. So I decided to stay there after that.
All right, so following on from Nats, I guess your first, you've done an overseas comp, but now you're traveling a bit further afield. So this is in October. You traveled to where next?
We went to Canada. Yep, Calgary for World Powerlifting.
How was that?
That was awesome. That was really, really cool, traveling that far and competing with other countries. I mean, it was small because we are a small and newish Fed. But yeah. So
that was a 173 squat, 100 bench, and a 215 kilo deadlift. So that's your first 100 kilo bench in competition.
Yeah.
488 total. Good comp for you?
Yeah, I was really happy with the outcome of that comp.
Yep. Not much to say.
No.
All right, so Sydney Fitness Expo comes next. You start prepping for that. You've been powerlifting for a couple of years now. You hit your first 227 kilo deadlift in the gym. And then what happens? COVID-19.
COVID. I was feeling so ready for that comp.
The killer of all games.
Yep.
All right, so lockdown happens. You have a few more treats. You come out of lockdown and at a new PB bodyweight.
Yes.
All right, so the next comp out of lockdown is at C3. It's another WP comp, and this time you're competing how? What weight class we're talking about now?
So under 84s, my
under
third
84.
weight class.
Wow. All right, so you come away though with some pretty impressive results, and I think it's around this time that I started following the journey a bit more closely. So for those that don't know, it's a 185 squat, which is a 12 kilo PB at the time, 112 on the bench and a close miss at 116, and then a 227 deadlift, which at the time, or could currently be, a world powerlifting world record as under 84, so it's a 424 total, which is an Oceania record again, which is 36 kilos up on your last comp and 611 walks. Talk to me about that comp.
Yeah, that was really awesome. Those numbers made me pretty happy and kind of opened up the door to like what more I could do with the extra weight.
You mentioned previously you'd intended maybe to take the year off competing due to COVID, and you also had your GP exams coming up. How did you find the study and the COVID and all those, how did it impact your training? How did you manage to juggle everything?
It was, there was definitely a juggle. Kind of a blessing in disguise that I couldn't actually train, so it wasn't, didn't feel like it was all my fault. But I still trained because it keeps me sane. It's like my escape from work and study and things. But I guess I'm kind of used to juggling, so it wasn't too bad.
So now you're hitting heavier and heavier weights, heaviest weights you've ever lifted, and you start blowing your nose out in the gym. Talk to me about that.
What was that?
Your first nosebleed.
Yeah. That was at, what was I doing? Like a 180 something squat reps. Yeah.
Wow.
And I blame that for me missing that rep.
So 2021 is kind of a little bit closer to where we are now. You're, as you said yourself, your most inconsistent prep to date.
Yeah.
First comp of the year, WP Oceanias. You're back under 72. This time with the help of a nutritionist.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it was pretty inconsistent, although everybody took the holidays off, so I was still there, but just had some niggles popping up and exams and stuff. So pretty happy with the result in the end. I got a dietitian.
Yep.
His name's Henry, and started working with him because I just wasn't doing my nutrition right and I was making things harder on myself. So that's been really good. So I'm excited to see what training at weight does for me for my next comp.
What does a day look like you eating wise?
Breakfast is always the same, eggs on toast. I get muesli and yogurt for a snack and a piece of fruit. And then dinner and lunch is just the same. It's protein, veggies, and a carb with another snack in between, so it's not too bad. So
you came into the comp feeling strong?
Yeah.
Talk to us a bit about your numbers.
So we've completely changed my squat actually leading up to that comp. I learned how to squat in flats and low bar for the first time because I'm usually in heels and high bar, and that's because I just can't move my shoulders. So we learned how to do that, and that seemed to make a huge difference to my squat. Squatted 200 for the first time in the gym.
Yep.
Was hoping to do the same, but in the gym I was quite thick, almost 77 kilos, and missed it at that competition. But I think we'll get there. We'll get there soon.
Can you remember your numbers you came away with?
190 squat.
Wow.
115 bench, 228 deadlift, which I'm pretty happy with, yeah.
And that's a 533 total for people that's adding it up at home. 633 walks, probably your highest total to date?
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about your approach on the day. What do you like to have in your headphones? You know, who do you like to have in your corner?
Yeah, I like to have, if Jules not competing at the same time, I like to have Jewel in my corner because she just understands that I like to be calm. Don't really like to talk much. I just like to keep to myself and just be in the zone the whole time. I basically have like 3 songs on rotation.
What are they? Let's hear it.
That's
Hairspray.
No, DMX, ex-convict.
Yeah, what else?
Let's Go, Twister, and what's the other one? Oh, Forever, Drake.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you some random questions just to finish off a bit later on. But so we've talked a bit about your background. We've talked about kind of who inspired you in the beginning. Let's talk a bit about who continues to inspire you now. So
Yeah.
talking about across WP, IPF, outside of powerlifting, even outside of sports.
Yeah.
Who inspires you and kind of molds you into what you're trying to do with your life now?
Yeah. I definitely look across into IPF and outside of New Zealand for inspiration. So the top like under 72s, although they don't have under 72s anymore, but like Jessica Beatner from Canada, Kimberly Walford from the US, just crazy, strong women. And just hoping that I can get close there. But yeah, I kind of just look inside to me for motivation and determination.
That's working so far. So I guess what's next for you? We'll talk about goals for 2021 with regards to powerlifting, and then 2022 and beyond, personal goals.
Yeah. Well, even though my last comp was good, it's not quite where I want to be. So hoping to push the total, finally get the 200 squat and push that, 120 bench, and finally get past 230 on the deadlift. But just hoping to push myself into that top 3. You know, some people don't like to compare WP and IPF, but I do.
But we're not those people.
Yeah, we're not those people. So I do like to compare.
And talk to us a bit about personal goals. And you know, if you weren't in powerlifting, what would you be doing?
Yeah. I guess I would just be honing my skills as a GP. It's a big job with a lot of different things to learn, a huge variety. And so, yeah, getting better at that.
And if someone comes to you and says, I want to get into powerlifting, I'm on the fence, any tips or advice for someone in that position?
I would say, get a coach and start learning how to do things, start learning how to squat, bench and deadlift, because it can be quite different to what you're doing at the commercial gym, and do your first comp and see how you like it.
Awesome. Well, how can we keep up to date with your journey?
So I post on Instagram and Facebook. I don't even know my Instagram handle.
We'll
I think it's Karlina23 or something.
We'll upload and we'll tag everyone in. We'll give you a plug. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming down and kind of sharing a bit about your journey and what things are to come for you. And we look forward to continuing to follow your progress in the sport of powerlifting.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so we're going into a quickfire question round. You've got 30 seconds. I've got 12 questions for you to answer. All right, red or blue Powerade?
Red.
Savory or sweet?
Sweet.
Favorite NRL team?
Oh my God. Warriors.
Last song you listened to?
Last song I listened to, I think it was Dua Lipa, Levitating.
Do you believe in fate?
Yes.
Dream holiday destination?
Oh, Santorini.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate.
Do you snore?
No.
Favorite season?
Summer.
How many pull-ups can you do in a row?
4.
What does a person need to be happy in life?
To be doing whatever makes them happy.